All right, welcome everyone to the December 12th, 2024 Planning Commission session. I want to welcome Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. Multiple staff members are here today to ensure that the meeting runs smoothly and all applicants and members of the public are able to participate in the meeting at the appropriate times. If you're here today and would like to speak about a case, we ask that you please provide your name clearly into the microphone and be sure to sign in either at the back of the room or at the podium for documentation purposes. And if you're here today to speak about a case, we ask that you speak up when the chairperson calls for public comment. And we'll take roll.
Go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Cook.
Here.
Ms. Davis. Here. Mr. Holcomb. Ms. Marshall. Here. Mr. Osorio.
Here.
Mr. Cohn.
Here.
And Ms. Cubney. Here. We have quorum.
All right, I'll give a brief overview of the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. The time limit, the time limit does not include any questions asked by the Planning Commission or staff regarding request. And during the public comment period, members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. After the public comment period, applicants will have 5 minutes to respond. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired, and the Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. And then, having said that, do we have any changes to the agenda?
There's been just one change since publication. There was case number 1, TA-2024-0006. A text amendment was withdrawn from the agenda, and that's the only change.
All right. This is odd to have the minutes be the only thing on the consent agenda.
You want to skip over the instructions about the consent agenda?
I think so.
We can certainly do that.
Seeing as we don't have any cases on the consent agenda, could I have a motion to approve the November minutes?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the November 2024 minutes.
We have a motion, and can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Can't recall ever having had that happen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, on the regular agenda, the Planning Commission will now move forward with the items on the regular agenda. All right, we will use the following outline for regular agenda items. The administrator will introduce the case. The applicant will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. The Planning Commission may ask questions. The public comment period will then be after that and open to those to present. Then the public comment period will be closed. The applicant will have 5 minutes to respond to the public comments. The Planning Commission may ask additional questions of the applicant, and then deliberation and action by the Planning Commission will occur.
All right, so the first and only case on the agenda this afternoon is 2212 Senate Street. This is a zoning map amendment. The tax out number is 114102206. And this is a request for a recommendation to rezone the property from residential single-family small lot district, RSF3, in a historic preservation overlay district, the Old Shandon Lower Waverly District Area A, to residential mixed district, RM1, historic preservation overlay district. And this, you may remember, this property, it's about 1/4 acre. It is, as mentioned, in the Old Shandon Lower Waverly area. This was actually before the Planning Commission back in October of 2023. And the staff recommendation was for approval then and still is at this time. The previous application was abandoned, but the applicants are back to request this rezoning today. And I believe they are here to present, unless y'all have any other questions of staff first.
Do any commissioners have any questions?
So this was approved already by the planning commission in 2023?
It was recommended to approval, and then
Just
before it
never came
finished.
before.
Correct, it never finished its council process. Yes, sir.
Is the applicant here?
My name is Timothy Webb, and this is my partner, Miles Mann. So to the point of we did bring this before you guys last year in October. We had some preliminary steps that we did not have last year of speaking with the community and informing the community of what we were doing. With that, we've attended the association meetings to have the community on board, where we have recently taken a formal vote with the community to get approval to move forward with the rezoning of this lot.
I do have one question. Is one of you Miles?
I'm Miles.
Oh, okay. All right, I didn't hear you say that. Thank you. Who was at the meeting?
So we have
Or
some
not
members.
necessarily specific, was it a majority or how many, do you know how many people you had on the
I
vote?
believe we had about 20 to 25 people.
Okay. Any commission members have any questions of the applicant?
Is this currently an empty lot? There's currently a structure on the lot?
Vacant lot.
Vacant lot, got it.
Any further? I don't have any further questions if any other commissioners do.
Just for clarification, I want to ensure that what I heard was that you now have the support of the people in the community?
Excuse me? Yes.
So when you took the vote from the people you met in the community, was it a favorable vote?
A favorable vote to move forward, correct? Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you.
You have a question?
Yes, Mr. Webb, good to see you here today. I actually remember this case. Mr. Madden, good to see you as well. Just want to add, I remember at the time the community was here and there was a lot of pushback. So for me, it says a lot that you guys went back, spoke with the community and got their support, because at the time I think that's something that stood out to me, that we meet here once a month, but we just had a lot of people here that day who were in support of it. So, it says a lot that you guys went back and worked with the community. And then I also just appreciate that you guys have the staff's recommendation as well, because a lot of times when we make these type of changes and we change the zoning, in this case from what's typically considered like a more intense zoning, it's very difficult. But the fact that staff has that you have their support, that speaks a lot to me. So the only thing that I want to add is just, I want to make sure you guys keep in mind the historic overlay part of it. I do think that's a very important district to Columbia. But other than that, this time around, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't support this, especially given that we approved it the first time.
Yeah, thank you for that. And to add, we've already been working with the Historic Committee, Betsy, on the design of the property that we would put in place there. So we've had reviews where she's given feedback, and we made changes that we submitted yesterday evening. So we're working on that in parallel.
Thank you. I think that's all we have at the moment.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this application? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Michael Buxton, and I pastor the Chappell Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church on the corner of Pine and Senate Street. We are the largest landowners in this part of the Waverly District. And I knew nothing about this meeting, and my concern is that Waverly is one of the last Black historic neighborhoods in the city of Columbia with a building restriction. We have plans to build an additional building to Chappelle, a community empowerment center. And I've been told by the, by the city that I've got to adhere to make sure that this building looks like it belongs in the historic community. Now, myself and my congregation are concerned, and I have here the one of the former pastors of Chappelle who were told the same thing. You just can't put up any kind of building there. It's got to look like it belongs in this Black historic community. And so my concern is that if this wasn't done in some of the other communities, and of course, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be any restrictions for Elmwood or Shandon, why are we going to change it so that anybody can build anything the way they want to build it in the Waverly community? I just don't think that that is right. Now, you may do what you want to do, but I'm here this afternoon to go on record to let you know that we do not approve of anyone coming in to build anything that they want, any kind of way they want to build it, when we are the church in the community and we are held to build according to the restrictions that the historic community has in place. And I just wanted you to know that. I wasn't in that meeting. I certainly did not vote. My members were not notified of this, and we own more property on Senate Street and on Pine Street than anybody else in that community. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for staff. Thank you, sir. This is for the commission also, just so I'm clear, does this have the DDRC overlay?
Yes, so actually, the request before you today, of course, is the rezoning, which is separate from the request for the DDRC, but the applicant has been working with our preservation staff. The project is scheduled to go to DDRC next week, so those agendas and packets will be published tomorrow for that meeting. So whatever they build will have to get approval from the DDRC based on the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Historic District guidelines.
And those universally apply to all the properties in that district?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a follow-up question for staff as well. So just to answer the Reverend's comment, this historic district overlay, essentially there's standards and guidelines they'll have to adhere to as well. They can't just change the character of the of whatever they build, right?
Correct. Anything that's built within the overlay district has to adhere to those guidelines. So
Thank you.
that's correct.
Just to further on that, so I'm correct, there's a separate application process to come in front of a separate body to have those reviewed
As
prior
opposed
to
the
any of
Planning
the,
Commission, or you mean DDRC versus Planning Commission?
right, prior to any permits being issued?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just to be clear, and while it is always good to know, and neighbors certainly appreciate knowing what people's intents are, you know, the request today is sort of a standalone request for the rezoning, and then the request to, you know, build the certain structure and get the design approval is separate from the Planning Commission's purview, but also relevant, of course.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Would you mind telling us your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Vivian Clark Armstead. I'm president of the MLK Lower Waverly Neighborhood Association. And when this issue came before you before, we were not on board with it because we knew nothing about it. And once that process happened, Mr. Webb and his partner, they came to our neighborhood association. They made a presentation to us as a community. They showed us drawings and pictures of what they were planning to put there, which would be consistent with the overlay of a historic district. Also, in that block that they're building, there are already duplexes on the other side of the street that in that block, so it's not like they would be destroying the acoustics. And also, as the last time I talked to Mayor Rickerman, he informed me that there were 35 break-in lots in MLK. And these lots have been vacant for years and years and years. People have been using them for dumping grounds. We've had problems with foot traffic and homeless and even students throwing debris and stuff in these empty lots. And we are wanting to change our community and revitalize it. And change is inevitable. And so we have to come to the realization that really being a single-family community, those things are changing. Because if you look at the houses like the one I own at 906 Oak Street, our houses were built years ago with one bathroom, small closets. So trying to say that we're going to retain only residential single-family housing is not in alignment with change as it is changing downtown Columbia, as Main Street changed, as Five Points changed, MLK will change also. And so once they presented to us, we had time to question, we had time to look at their plans, we had time to look at their pictures. We took a vote of the neighborhood association. I have members here with me, our treasurer is here. We have 4 or 5 people from the neighborhood association who did not have to work and counted robbery to come down here to lend our support to go forward, that we no longer stand against them. And I don't think that they're building anything, you know, that we're allowing people to come in and just build anything. Like you said, with DRC and stuff, they will have to meet the historical overlay requirements for them to go forward.
Thank you. So you had not met Mr. Webb and Mr. Madden until recently? You had not met Mr. Webb and Mr.
Oh,
Madden?
we met them at the last when we came to the first back in whenever it was. Before that, we did not know them, and they had not come to us prior to.
Nothing like a good zoning sign to meet your neighbors?
Yeah, yeah. So we had no idea. So that's why we came that time in opposition. But once they came back and built a rapport and an explanation and laid out their plans to us, apologizing for not informing us and coming first to see how we felt about it, we have since came to like minds and think that our community needs to get rid of those 35 vacant lots.
No, I appreciate you coming to speak.
And this lot has been vacant 20 years or more. So it's time for something to start to change where our neighborhood doesn't disintegrate, or that we have blocks that look like they're in a shantytown in Soweto somewhere. So we really want MLK to maintain its importance in the downtown area.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, ma'am.
May I add one last thing?
Uh,
My
would you-
name is Dr.
would you-
Bambi Gaddis. I live at 904 Oak Street, and I have a conference call, so you can rest assured I will not be long. I'd like to ensure that everyone knows that we have a standard meeting every second Tuesday of the month. And we would certainly want to make sure that everyone knows, with all due respect, that has been that way for as long as I've been a part of the association. And so every second Tuesday, we just receive funds from the city to start putting up signs so that people will again be reinforced that we have a standard meeting every second Tuesday of the month. So I would encourage anyone who was not aware of that to please take advantage of that, because in those meetings, that's where we vote, where we discuss critical issues and try to make sure that we're on top of things that are important in our community. I appreciate your time.
Go ahead.
Dr. Douglas, I think I remember you from last time you were here, so I just want to,
And I was here, and I think I spoke about my sentiments, and everything has already been stated about appreciating them coming back and giving us and responding to questions. I am, and that's why I'm running the risk of a contract job being
Thank you,
here,
thank
but
you.
I need to be.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Olufemi Oluleno. Excuse me. I used to own from 1001 to 1009 Pine Street. I just relinquished 1005 I still live in 1007 Pine Street. The people at the church come once a month, once a week. We live in the community. The lot that this gentlemen are trying to develop has been vacant for over 20 years. We are now begging people to come down to our community and build the place up. I'm here to support building our community. And I'm here in support of this young man building their property. It's a shame. Where were some people? Thank God for Elder Nelson, who was the pastor of Chapel for many years. He was like a father to me. This man used to come and pick up all the trash and come early on Sunday when our community was nothing but drugs and prostitution. We need growth. Anything that does not grow is dead. I've been living in that community for 50 years now. Love the place. I want to see some growth in the place. Anything that doesn't grow is dead. We don't want to die. We want to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public?
Good afternoon. I'm Marquita Daniels. I'm a resident and grew up in this area. I am wanting to maintain the integrity of the community, and there are many young people, the lots that are empty, but they may be owned by young professionals. I would like this to see it develop into something like Elmwood, where we have young people coming in, building single-family homes, but proud enough to bring their families into that community. I've probably been here longer than most people in here lived there because of my grandparents. I love living downtown. I tell people I'm an urbanite, and having studied many places all over, also as a Columbia College grad, where there used to be Build the Best Women, but it's now co-ed, off record there. I like the community feeling, and I don't have a problem with developing. The empty lots, they are being maintained and cleaned by the young people who own them. We have young people coming in building single-family homes. Lovely, but to change the zoning, because the duplexes that are across the street have been there for over 60 years. They're very small, they're very quaint, and I remember my parents calling them condos, little condos. So if you were gonna map something like that, I'd see, but you could still do it maintaining the single family. My thing is, let's not change the zoning. Come in, build a beautiful single-family home, but to change the zoning and that slot to make it a duplex is where I have a problem with. And we also had many young people who've sent in emails, so I hope that you get to receive those before you make your decisions. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
Thank you. I have a question for staff. One moment.
Please,
Yes, sir.
there was something I needed to say.
Okay.
That community, they only gave us enough lot for shotgun houses. That's why those so-called single family, all this idea about single family, we know the story of this place.
Yes, sir.
And what we had were shotgun houses. That was what our elders had. I just wanted to put that in. Our community needs to grow. And shotgun houses, they ain't gonna work no more. The so-called single family, that concept needs to change. There's growth. A lot of people move out of that place and then now they're crying that they should have stayed. But the concept of single family, then where do we put all the other folks who ain't got no place to go? The height is the limit. I'm not saying that's what we should build at, but just little shotgun houses to complete this so-called single family. These days, ain't no single family can afford homes in Columbia.
Thank you. I have a question for staff. So one of the things I think we've heard general concern is the overall aesthetic, whether it's a single family or duplex, any structure built in this district, just so all the commission members are clear, is under the same guidelines for the Design Development Review Commission.
Correct. It would be any new construction.
And I think the former duplex in reference predate those guidelines.
Yes, certainly.
So they kind of got grandfathered in, but anything new would have to conform.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you please come to the? Thank you.
I want to clarify my statement. Chappelle doesn't oppose anybody building. We're all for the building up of that community. Our concern is that if we are held to the overlay that everybody else is, I would love to see that place booming again, but just as long as they are held to the same restrictions that we are, then we have no problems, build up the whole place, but just do it the right way. That's all we're concerned with.
Your concern comes up somewhat often when people see projects getting ready to go in the historic districts. I appreciate the sentiment and you coming to speak to that. And I would just encourage you and the community to revisit those guidelines to make sure that they reflect the kind of community you still want to see.
All right.
So there's the Design Development Review Commission, which will evaluate any project that comes in that district. And I can't remember when those guidelines were put in, but they were done very intentionally at the time for the historic preservation of that district.
Okay. We've been dealing with Betsy Kleinfelder. You may be familiar with her, and she was the one that I had gotten my information from. But again, as long as these gentlemen are going to do it, and it will blend into the community, we have no problem.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
For staff, just a clarification.
Thank you. Yes.
Does the public have the ability to input during the DDRC process? Okay.
Yep, that meeting will be next Thursday at 4 o'clock right here. So,
Okay. Then I would encourage anybody who's interested to attend that meeting.
Do any commission members have any other questions?
Mr. Chair, as one of the no votes last time, I think, again, I've seen a big change from the community this time around. The fact that they've had, leadership come up here and state their support speaks highly to me. So in general, I think the concerns are valid as far as the historic overlay. So, I do hope the applicant just keeps that in mind, and so that the community can keep the character, that historic place. But in general, though, I do think this is a very different tone than last time.
I'd like to add something too, that the unified support of the community is going to go a long way in that community growing and attracting young people and builders coming in there. So stay unified.
And I would encourage the applicant to continue to look into ways to keep doing that with the sensitivity that keeps yielding support. It's great to see people taking an interest in bringing new life down there. So, if we don't have any other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve ZMA 2024-0013, 2212 Senate Street.
We have a motion. Can I get a second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. Hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. And I think we have some other business.
We have a few items, mostly housekeeping. I guess first of all, just a note that the 2025 calendars have been published. I think you've probably received that from Madeline. She's been working very hard to get all those coordinated. Put those meetings on your calendar, please. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us. We did reschedule our training session that we were talking about doing before this meeting for January, so also put that on your calendar. It'll be at 3 o'clock, probably in the conference room back here. If you have any thoughts or topics or questions that you want us to just review in that training session, please just reach out to us, and we can certainly, if we need to do any, whatever, thinking about that or looking into stuff in advance, just let us know, and we're happy to review that. We will have a list of just topics that we want to refresh everybody on. And then obviously also Madeline reached out to you about officer nominations. Please send her your nominations for chair and vice chair by next Friday, the 20th, and then she'll be confirming with those nominees whether they accept, and then we'll have a vote in January, as we always do, for 2025 officers. And then last but not least, we have a sad announcement.
I don't get to speak to you all very often. Krista Hampton, I'm the Director of Planning. And sadly, I'm talking to you about something sad. Hope Hasty is leaving us as zoning administrator. She's going to Spartanburg County. She will be directing their long-range planning program. So we're glad she's still in the state, but we're very sad to lose her. She came to us after a good career in local government in Richland County and Anderson. She came as a deputy zoning administrator in 2018, and then in early 2020 assumed the role of zoning administrator. And so it's been about 3 years, but I talk about local government and planning and zoning as like dog years. So it's been much longer than that, but she really helped guide us through a really difficult time. We had a brand new ordinance and a lot of changes, and we did a lot of process changes, and she helped make those successful, and we get a lot of compliments on that, and so she's responsible for that. So thank you, Hope, and just wanted you all to.
Thank you, Krista, and I've enjoyed working with every one of you, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Hope.
Good luck, Miss. Oh, yeah, sorry. We don't have any other business. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, can I get a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's enough for me. Happy holidays.